So speaking of part 2 and all things sequel, Tim, we got a huge multi-content creator official publication rollout of all things Marvel Spider-Man 2 for the past week, where IGN's dropping articles and videos, GameSpot dropping articles and videos. Your favorite content creator got invited to a behind-the-doors scene gameplay aspect of Spider-Man. So they're dropping their content of their impressions of the game. Everybody got invited except us, but it's coming. Sony. They're looking to really ramp up, kind of go the God of War Ragnarok route with just a full-on month of just promotion leading up to Marvel Spider-Man 2. So we got a better look at the open world. We got a better look at the traversal mechanics. We got, although it wasn't really in the IGN breakdown, which I thought was a little weird, through the content creators, we got a breakdown of how some of the gameplay has changed, some of the combat mechanics have changed. And Tim, what are your thoughts? Like, how do you feel like, given these reveals of the web gliding system and the way you can kind of still use some of the symbiote powers even when you don't have the symbiote suit on, and the lizard boss fight? Like, what are you thinking about how Spider-Man 2 is starting to look now?
All I'm thinking about is the amount of stress that I'm going to go through for my platinum trophy. That's what I'm. That's because, bro, it's such a beautiful game, man. Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful, very immersive type of game, man. And then just seeing more of it. And I'm glad that, they really did highlight more on the combat mechanics, because I know that was something that we kind of didn't really get in the Lizard trailer, I would say. Mm-hmm. We got more of the action sequences. Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to it, man. But I do feel like, especially how the last game with a lot of the bigger bulk is not, the bulk of it is in the story mode, but then also the side quests.
Yes.
We got a Mysterio reveal. So I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. So, like, they're definitely pulling out, like, yes, this city, Craven is doing all this other stuff, but there's a lot of other people out there as well. So it's really giving you that real packed Arkham City type of vibe.
Yes.
And I say Arkham City because I felt like Arkham City was such a beautiful game, bro. Arkham City and Arkham Knight did some real good stuff with, like, different set of, like, characters and villains and things of that nature. Yeah, at a certain point, certain things was a little redundant. Yeah. I was like, oh, we fighting Mad Hatter again? Okay.
Yeah. But the world building aspects, I think.
Yes, the world building aspects.
Just say they stuck to their guns with certain things.
Yes. And then, of course, with the suits, like, that's a big tie-in to the movie, because, you saw a universe of different Spider-Man, Spider-Women type of feel. So it's just like, it really is giving you that refreshing vibe. And remember, with certain suits, you get certain power-ups. Mm-hmm. So let's see how they expand on that. But overall, man, I'm just really looking forward to this. What about you?
So for me, like I said, initially I was a little surprised by the lack of specification on some of the bigger publications. Like I was surprised I had to go find content creators to talk about some of these finer details in Spider-Man. I thought some of these bigger companies kind of glossed over really important aspects of the gameplay, in my opinion. They're like, oh, the story is good, the graphics are good, this. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, I can see that. What about the combat? What about the traversal? What about this? And from all what I'm hearing, it's the same thing that you said. It's just like, yeah, the platinum trophy is going to be an experience. It's not entirely flawless for me. I think I still, for as much as they did end up showing about the combat, I still am a little nervous about the combat being a little, like, it's funny because people are nitpicking about, oh, does the web swinging look the same? Does the graphics look the same? Does this look the same? Like, the combat to me is where I know. I'm gonna get there in a second. The combat for me is where things are. I'm like, I'm a little on the fence still, because a lot of the combat mechanics really didn't get refined until Miles. Right, Miles was the one that had a lot of mix up to his combinations. He could launch people, like launch groups of people. The Venom Punch and all these things that he could do kind of really added a lot of variety to his moveset. And you can definitely see from the gameplay clips that they're doing their best to essentially have Peter keep up. But the other part of it is that they gave Miles even more powers. So the question that's still in my mind is like, I don't know if I've seen anything outside of the symbiote gameplay, obviously, because it's such a drastic change in terms of combat, that makes me want to play as Peter over Miles. And that's the thing that like I still haven't gotten, like, even with the whole reveal that he has like little metal mechanics, the little Dr. Octopus-esque arms that pop out in combat. I'm like, that's still not as cool as what Miles can do. Like the symbiote stuff he could do, like the whole God of War Spartan Rage and, you know, all these things he could do in the symbiote suit, that's cool. At some point, obviously, he's going to lose the suit. So is he still going to have all these cool things in his repertoire as opposed to Miles, who's now using projectile lightning and doing all these even cooler things now? What do you think about that?
Well, to be honest, bro, I just kind of feel that's just the issues, you know, of an establishing a successor. Because when you really look at it, bro, like even from the introduction of Miles, like in the comic books, yeah, like bro, he's a much cooler Peter Parker. Even in terms of like the last Spider-Man movie, like look, you know, Peter being the dad, it's like, yeah, but then who is he looking up to? They really like not even say take his place, because of course they're there from different universes, but then who is he looking to say, you know, he's the future. And you know, sometimes, and then, you know, especially, you know, we watch anime, bro, like, so that's always a big topic about, like, you know, character progression and, you know, the next generation. Miles is the next generation.
But do you feel like even with Insomniac storytelling, and we'll just stick on Insomniac because obviously they're kind of doing their own thing to a degree, do you think that they'd be willing to embrace Miles being the new face? Because I feel like with Miles and Peter, it's almost like the Goku Gohan syndrome, where it's like, in a lot of ways, Gohan is just a further evolution of his father. He's more of a tactical fighter, or could be if he, you know, took it seriously. But because Goku is the face, we can't really abandon Goku. So Gohan continues to take a backseat for the property to continue.
I feel like that's how it's gonna go. I feel like you described it perfectly. I feel like that's exactly how it's going to go. Because it's like, yes, it's the space. And when you think of Spider-Man, you originally just think of Peter. But when you say Miles, most people just say Miles.
Yeah.
So I do feel like, you know, and I foresee this thing becoming like a trilogy. I do feel like maybe part 3 or however part 2 ends, or whatever story DLC we'll get, we'll see some type of refinement, or I would say additions to Peter. So it's still so far ahead to really say what exactly happens to him. But yeah, that's where he's at, the biggest, you know, and we, you know, when we're analyzing these trailers and stuff, bro, the one thing we look out for is gimmicks.
Yeah.
And the biggest gimmick for Peter right now is the suit.
It's the suit, yeah.
It's the symbiote suit. So that's the biggest gimmick right now, bro. So you do realize, like, yeah, once that is gone, once Mega Evolution is gone, we're just back to figuring things out.
Yeah. I would say that's probably my only thing where I'm like, I hope they have enough. They've thought ahead enough to still make Peter interesting outside of the suit. Other than that, like you said, story-wise, I think I don't see any really issues with the story. I think everything looks great. I wouldn't even say concerned. Like, I'm sure whatever they decide to go and whoever they decide to be Venom will make sense within that story. I'm not looking for it to be Eddie. I mean, maybe
it's Craven, bro. It's definitely Craven, man. Like, it's definitely Craven, because when you look at it, bro, like the symbiote matches the person's physique, and when you look at it, it's like, all right, who's that person's size? And you know, especially with more of like a hunter type of style, like a predator style, apex predators type of style, who has that mindset?
Craven.
It's Craven, man. But it's definitely Craven, bro.
But does having Venom in the trailer say that we're gonna heal the world? Do you think was just a misplaced line? Because it sounded like it was from Venom itself, or himself, or whoever the character is. How do you think that would tie into Craven's mindset of we're gonna heal the world?
Well, when you remember, like, you know, people like that, I would say megalomaniacs, or people, you just never really know what really drives them. And they always look at the way they justified certain things, they always look at it in a very artistic point of view. So yes, you're like, when we dive into their psyche, we'll probably see. Because that's one thing I do foresee that game does very well. Because especially like when they look how they handle Mr. Negative, bro. Like,
Fire
so
writing.
so I definitely foresee us like diving deeper into the character. And to be honest, bro, to be honest, maybe this game will probably open up more Marvel Street type of dialogues. Maybe it'll open up more of like a Daredevil, I would say, because people have been saying they would love to relive the glory of like the animated Spider days of he had all of these different connections with different people. Like one day War Machine showed up, one day Iron Man showed up, one day Blade showed up, and I get it. Yeah, sometimes you don't want to get it too chaotic, but
Yeah.
I do foresee it like tying in real good stuff. Like it's doing pretty well, man. So I do foresee. Let's just see how it goes, and then we'll be able to have like a better point of view of, all right, this is where we're going from here.
Okay.